So now once we have these packages installed, let's go ahead and learn how these packages actually work. So even before we actually go ahead and learn about these packages, let's learn how exactly can we write in some Python code inside the Django app which we have right now. So right now we have created a Django project, and we can actually open up Visual Studio Code, and we can actually open up that particular project in Visual Studio Code. But even before that, I want to mention one thing over here, and that is how exactly can we go ahead and execute some Python code in this particular terminal within our Django app. So as you can see, we are into the my site directory, and now if I just print out the contents of the directory, we have the manage.py file. And in here, if you actually want to write in and test some Python code, what you can simply do is that you can type in python3 manage.py shell, and when you go ahead and hit enter, as you can see, it's going to start up the Python interactive shell for you. And in here you can actually go ahead and write in a bunch of code which you can execute, and this shell actually works just like any normal Python shell would work. So in order to learn about the Beautiful Soup and the requests library, we are actually going to make use of the same shell. So even before we make use of those two libraries in our project, let's go ahead and learn those libraries using this Python shell. So let's first learn about the requests library. So in order to use the requests library, you first need to go ahead and type in import requests. And now once we have this imported, we can now go ahead and make use of this requests library. So the request library is a library which allows us to request any web page which we want. So let's say, for example, you want to request google.com. You can simply type in request.get, and then you can pass in the web page which you want. So I can type in over here http://www.google.com. and now in order to actually store the result into something, I'll simply go ahead and type in page equals request. So the result of this particular function gets stored in the page. So now once I go ahead, hit enter, and when I type in page, as you can see, we get a response to 100. So now all the contents of our web page, which is the web page google.com, are now stored into page. So if I do page.text and hit enter, as you can see, we got a bunch of HTML code in here, which is nothing but the content of our web page. Now if you have a look over here, this HTML is quite messy and you won't make any sense out of this particular HTML code, and henceforth, in order to obtain some important information from this particular web page, we actually make use of another library which is called as Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is actually a Python library for pulling data out of HTML and XML files. So in here we already have a HTML page which we have extracted, and now in order to actually go ahead and make sense of that page, we'll make use of the Beautiful Soup library. So let's first import Beautiful Soup. So in order to import Beautiful Soup, you type in from bs4 import, that's going to be Beautiful Soup. So now once you have this library imported, you can simply go ahead and make use of it. So you can say Beautiful Soup and pass in page.text, which is nothing but the actual HTML, which is the HTML which we have above right now. And then to this particular Beautiful Soup, you also need to pass in the parser which you want to use. So as here we want to pass the HTML file, I'll pass in html.parser over here. So now what this will do is that it will actually go ahead, take this HTML and use the HTML parser to parse that particular HTML. And now let's also go ahead and save the result into something. So I'll type in soup equals, so that we have the result inside soup. So now let me just go ahead and execute this code and see what happens. So when I type in soup, as you can see, we again get the same HTML in here. But now if I actually want to go ahead and print it out in a specific format, I can say print, then I will type in soup.prettify. So prettify is actually a method which actually formats this HTML code in a much more better way. So when I go ahead and hit enter, and if we scroll up a little bit, as you can see, now we have HTML in a much more better and readable format. Now let's say if I actually want to go ahead and out of this HTML code, I just want to find all the elements which are nothing but links. So let's say I want to find all the link tags in from the above HTML. I can simply type in soup.find_all, and in here I can simply pass in the tag which I want to find. So I want to find all the elements with the A tag. So I go ahead, hit enter, and as you can see, we now have all the link tags over here, which are actually represented in a form of a list. So we can go ahead, use a for loop to loop through all the list items and print this in a much more better way. So in order to write a for loop over here, I can type in for link in soup.findAll and just pass in A over here. And then in order to actually go to the next line, I can simply go ahead, hold the shift key and hit enter, and as you can see, it won't execute this line of code, but instead the Python shell will allow us to write code on the next line. So here I'll use indentation and I'll simply try to print out the value of link, and let's see what exactly happens. And now once you want to execute the code, simply hit enter and hit enter one more time, and as you can see, now we have all the links in a specific format which we have, where we have one link on each line. So as you can see, this is the link for Google Images. It's actually an entire link tag for Google Images. So we have the href attribute, we have the name of that attribute, so on and so forth, and we have all the links which were actually present on the Google's homepage. So that's all fine and good. But let's say if you only want to get the contents inside the href attribute, so how exactly are you going to get that? So we will actually go ahead, make use of the same logic, that is, we will use the same for loop to get the A tag elements, shift enter, shift to the next line, in here type in print link, and instead of just printing out the link, let's type in link.get. And in here, let's specify that we want the href attribute. And once we go ahead, mention that and hit enter, as you can see, now we only get all the links over here, which is nothing but the contents of the href attribute. So this is what exactly we want to perform. So for example, for any given web page, we actually want to get all the links on that particular web page. So in this specific case, we have actually extracted all the links from the google.com's homepage. So doing this is quite easy, but now in the upcoming lectures, we are going to learn how exactly can we use or mention this specific code inside our Django application so as to go ahead and extract links from any given web page. So that's it for this lecture, and in the next lecture, let's try to go ahead and integrate this code in our Django application. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.